How do we embrace the life and the charism of Sainte Marie Rivier, Sister Santissima, and Sister Madeleine of Jesus, the foundress of Rivier University? How has our time together reminded us of the charism, that unique gift that God has given the Church through Sainte Marie, and that each of us are privileged to carry forward? Let me begin with a story. A few years ago, I met a student on the Rivier campus who had just transferred. She was unsure of her path, uncertain about her major, and overwhelmed by the transition. But what struck me was how she described her first encounter with our community. She said, "I felt seen. I felt like I mattered. I didn't think I could finish my nursing degree, but my professors never gave up on me." Friends, that to me is the charism of Sainte Marie Rivier in action. It's not just a historical legacy. It's alive in our students, our faculty, our mission, and it's alive in you and your students and your faculty and your collaborators. Let me offer 3 foundational thoughts before we enter into our conference theme of evangelization, solidarity, and education. And these are words from the prophet Habakkuk. He tells us, wait for the vision. It will come at an appointed time. If it delays, wait, for it will surely come. Waiting can be holy in today's world, but waiting can also be seen as a weakness. We live in a culture of immediacy, instant messaging, same-day delivery, on-demand, everything. But the kind of waiting we see in the lives of Sainte Marie and her spiritual daughters is different. It's a waiting rooted in faith, in trust, in the belief that God's time is not our time. I think of our students who wait for clarity about their vocation, who wait for healing from past wounds, who wait for courage to speak up or step forward. Sister Marie was no stranger to waiting. She waited 7 long years at the feet of the Pietà, praying for healing. Or she waited to enter religious life and allowed God's vision for her to be fulfilled. For Sister Santissima, waiting occurred in Switzerland. She looked towards not only a career of teaching, but a vocation of evangelization. And for Sister Madeleine of Jesus, her waiting provided the time necessary to move Rivier University to a new, larger campus and what turned out to be an ideal location, and to discern that Rivier was to be an American university, preparing students not only for life and service, but also for the professions. However, there's a darker side to the act of waiting. We've all heard that voice, "It's not a good time." So what does that mean in moments of fear, uncertainty? History shows us that the most transformative actions happen precisely when it's not a good time. It's God's appointed time. It was not a good time to start a religious congregation during the French Revolution. It was not a good time to start a college during the Great Depression, or missions in Mozambique, Senegal, the Gambia, Philippines, and Peru during times of civil unrest, if not outright danger. And so when the Lord calls us through Habakkuk to wait for the vision, wait for the time, and we listen to the voices and ask, is it a good time? We're truly involved in discernment and contemplative prayer. This space and place brings a final thought. The beautiful location of Madeira, and by Mother Rivier's own words, that my daughters will cross the oceans. And so let us also listen today from the Gospel of Mark, that we can draw courage and renewed meaning from the sacred time and sacred space. For Luke tells us, now, go out where it's deeper and let down your nets and catch some fish. What does it mean to go into the deep today? What courage does it take when we are in a society that often thrives only on superficial relationships, where meaning is only as important as the transactional value it creates? When community and family life can be difficult and misunderstandings linger. For Rivier University students, going out into the deep is to study abroad, to meet different cultures, to experience the stress of illness or family trauma or economic hardship. Yet, going deep is worth it. One group of students recently returned from a mission trip to Tanzania. They didn't provide just medical care. They built relationships. They listened. They learned. That's what it means to go into deeper waters. And so during the days of the Congress, we have waited for a vision. We have overcome the voices that tell us that it's not a good time to create and innovate. And we have experienced the grace moments of engagement and dialogue, going into the deep, into the unknown, to let down our nets and catch the fish which the Lord himself have promised. As educators, and entering into the conference theme, I am proud and humbled to communicate the mission of Rivier University of transforming hearts and minds to serve the world. It's a big mission. It's a large task, and it is an endeavor of a lifetime to transform hearts and minds to serve the world. And we know at Rivier, the first hearts and minds to transform are our own. And within that context, we can support our students and our broader community to transform theirs. And so the foundation of this transformation is our core curriculum. And we ask our students to consider over their 4 years 4 questions. These are questions that are really not new to anyone, but it's a moment for our students and community to go into the deep. 4 questions, there will not be a test. Who am I? Who is my neighbor? How shall I live? What then shall I do? These courses are embedded in our coursework, in papers, in reflection, in community service. They challenge students to engage in a spiritual journey, including self-awareness, hopefully leading to the capacity for prayerful reflection. We know as teachers the power of questions. And so who am I can be answered through the gospel witness. You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. It can be answered through the scriptures, which Mother Rivier used very personally in her writings. You are children of God. And how often did Mother in her writings call you all daughters? These images grow slowly in the lives of university students. They grow in moments of immense joy, but they also grow in moments of failure and questioning. The question, who am I, can best be answered when students recognize the need for silence in their life. The second question for a Rivier student is, well, who is my neighbor? Our mission tells us, as does the scriptures, that our neighbor can be found in the plight of the poor and vulnerable, in the broken and the war-torn, in the lost souls of society. And it's ever more important for our Rivier students to see their neighbors in a global context, to see their neighbor in the islander who is caught in global warming, in the day laborer trapped in a commercial structure that pays him or her pennies as they create goods worth hundreds of dollars. It is this question, who is my neighbor, and what duty of care are they owed, that brings us to another gospel message. Whatever you did for one of the least of my neighbors, you did for me. Reflecting on the third question of the core curriculum, how shall I live? Well, there is no shortage of advice in America telling us how we should live. Everyone has an opinion. But there's a particular book that many college students read that's called Designing Your Life. And the primary theme of this book is that life is a problem to be solved. And in reading it, I could say the author got it wrong. Life is not a problem to be solved. It is a gift to be lived, a gift to be shared, a gift to discover, a gift to embrace. And so we take note from a quote of our newest 21st century soon-to-be saint, Blessed Carlos Acutis, who said, "My life plan is always to be close to Jesus." And finally, question number 4 in our core curriculum, what then shall I do? Isn't it interesting? It's often the first question we ask the littlest toddler. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? What job do you want? What career? How much money will you make? What then shall I do? Well, I won't answer that question today, but I will share a story that our international students at Rivier have a student-run food pantry for their neighbors, for their fellow students from India. And so I would say to the question, what do you want to do, that the prophet Micah has an answer for each of us. To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. If you're counting, on to solidarity. While the word solidarity is generally not used among college students, the concept of unity, mutual support, and respect is embedded within the Rivier University mission statement, and it comes alive in Pope Francis's encyclical on fraternity and social friendship entitled Fratelli Tutte. For many young people, the spoken language is growing less distinct. We communicate through text messages, through WhatsApp, through images on Instagram and TikTok, and even through emojis. What does solidarity have to tell us about communication? Well, it is the focus on dialogue. I had one student say after a listening session, I never realized how much I had in common with this student until I listened. It's amazing, isn't it? In a world of division, these moments of connections are sacred. They remind us that dialogue is not about winning an argument, it's about maintaining and building a relationship. And so, quotes right from Rivier University's mission statement written in 2005. Quote 1, "The challenge of the university community is to search for truth through the dialogue of faith and reason." Number 2, to participate in the life of Rivier University is to strive for academic excellence and to engage in dialogue about basic human issues facing society, and in the spirit of St. Marie, especially the plight of the poor and powerless. And number 3, the university extends to all its members and also the greater community an invitation to join in intellectual inquiry and dialogue. And so, solidarity and dialogue are very closely aligned. And it is that gift that we wish to support our students in accepting, in learning, and in refining. And so now on to evangelization. With so many of you working with young people, it's no surprise that we have found that they have not always developed a language that supports them on their faith journey. They don't know how to explain how the divine is working in their life. How is God working? What are the scripture stories that bring meaning in times of sadness and disappointment? How is a loving God present in a world that is war-torn and wounded? Well, as Christian educators, evangelization is not just about proclamation, it is about presence. It is about being Christ to others in our words, in our actions, and in our choices. The work of evangelization, and for so much of the United States, the work of the new evangelization, is to bring us back to the center of a Catholic spiritual tradition in which the Jesus of history and the Christ of faith is known in a personal and genuine experience of prayer and the sacramental tradition. In the United States, there has been a resurgence of outreach to young people, offering them the language of faith, the language of hope and love. Specifically, the multimedia work of Bishop Robert Barron and Word on Fire. The Catholic app Hallow, HALLOW.com, the first religious app to reach the #1 spot in the Apple App Store on Ash Wednesday 2024. Don't we all start out with great intentions? And the series on the life and the witness of Jesus and his disciples in the movie series called The Chosen, that now has been viewed by over 200 million individually through streaming and the international distribution. And more especially on American television, there has been $100 million spent on a media campaign, He Gets Us, which is really focusing on the social tradition of the gospel through contemporary commercials. So when you see a religious commercial on the Super Bowl Sunday programming, you know someone has a lot of money. Through the work of evangelization, the university transmits its values of peace and justice. And we are in a particular moment as we consider the forward movement of evangelization as we enter the beginning of the papacy of Pope Leo. It's been said that there's 4 revolutions in society. The Industrial Revolution, which Pope Leo commented on when he assumed the name Leo and referenced the great encyclical Rerum Novarum of 1898. There's been the Knowledge Revolution. There has been the Communication Revolution. And now we are in the beginning period of the revolution of artificial intelligence. And for this revolution, which will revolutionize evangelization, education, mutual dialogue, the economic balance of society, Pope Leo says, the Church desires to participate in discussions that directly affect the present and future of the human family. The next step of evangelization. And so let me say in conclusion, it is a privilege to meet you as the president of Rivier University, to represent the life, the work, the charisms of the Sisters of the Presentation, particularly the Sisters of the Presentation and their collaborators, USA, and for all of our community to carry on the spirit which you have shared with us this week with the international dimension, that wait for the vision. Now is a good time, and let us all cast our nets into the sea and catch those fish. Thank you.